Welcome to the AI Chat Podcast. I'm your host, Jaden Schaefer. Every day I cover cutting-edge AI news and talk with the leaders behind it, breaking down what it means for your life and business. OpenAI is shutting down their Atlas browser 9 months after it launched, and they're folding the features into ChatGPT, into a native app, and into a Chrome app. Meta is launching MuseSpark 1.1, and this is directly competing with Claude and GPT 5.6 on coding. Sunrun is going to pay customers to host AI compute nodes in their homes, so you can turn your home into an AI data center. And SkyHenix has raised $26.5 billion in the largest ever foreign IPO in the US market. Fiji, Simone is stepping down as OpenAI's application chief because of chronic illness. The craziest thing just happened to me yesterday. If you listen to the podcast, you know that for the last couple months, I've been talking trash about a bunch of Chinese AI companies on my podcast, but they have finally proved me wrong. So yesterday, I discovered the incredibly innovative AIbox365.com. So essentially, I was getting Claude to do SEO for me, asking it, a bunch of different tips and strategies for AIbox.ai and my own startups SEO, and it identified for me. It said, look, there's a red flag because there's another startup called AIbox365.com, and it does exactly what you do. So it's a company. They went and they registered our exact name. They added 365. They cloned our landing page and our pricing. It's like the same pricing, but the only difference is if you click the sign up button on their website, it doesn't sign you up right there. It actually redirects you to a completely different site called AImirrorhub.com. And that one has a bunch of Chinese characters on it. I think the site is actually like translated from Chinese into English just automatically on Google, how Google does that. If you've seen Silicon Valley, you know that I basically just got Jin Yanged, where, he pitches, Uber, but it's Chinese, Airbnb, but it's Chinese. We now have AI Box, but it's Chinese, and everything else is the same except that it now points to their website, just basically poaching off of our SEO. So how do we stack up against this incredibly innovative Chinese competitor? Well, I'm proud to say that even with the ability to go and clone our site, we still beat them on pricing. They are $9. We're $8.99, so we're 1 cent cheaper. They have 10 models on their platform. We have over 80 different models on our platform. And if you go and get an annual subscription from them, it's $109, where our cheapest annual subscription is $86.99. So we're beating them on annual pricing. We're 1 cent cheaper on monthly, and we're not going to steal your data. In addition to the fact that we have an MCP, so you can take any of those image, audio, video models and stick them straight into Claude or ChatGPT or any AI tool you use. You can get all the other AI tools built into it as well. So if you're interested, it's trusted by over 3,000 teams. If you're looking for every AI model in one place, do not go to our Chinese knockoff competitor. Go to AIbox.ai. I'll leave a link in the show notes. OpenAI is shutting down Atlas. This is a browser that they launched 9 months ago, and they're moving all of the features from that into a Chrome extension, and they're also upgrading their ChatGPT desktop app instead. This is basically what Claude already has with the Claude app that has like all of their different Claude Code and Claude Cowork and even the chat all inside of one app. It looks like OpenAI is trying to consolidate and do that same thing. And I even saw Claude today launch the fact that they have a browser built into that. So I wouldn't be surprised if ChatGPT did something similar and had some sort of browser built in eventually to the ChatGPT app. They want to consolidate. They don't want multiple apps. And Claude also has a Chrome extension. And so it looks like OpenAI is basically following Claude's playbook. It works really well. I use both the Chrome extension and the app on my desktop, and sometimes they chat back and forth and they use each other. But anyways, this is, I think, the way to go, and OpenAI is copying that. The new ChatGPT Chrome extension is going to compete directly with Google's Gemini side panel, and I think it's going to basically answer any questions that you have about a web, any specific web page, so it can look at the content on that page. It can handle multi-step tasks. You're not leaving the browser. The other cool thing that they do is they're building a cloud browser, so it's going to run on their own servers, and basically it lets ChatGPT agents complete tasks for you while your desktop app is staying responsive. Like, there's a couple different cool things here. One is, like, I love that Claude Cowork, for example, uses the files on my computer, or let's say Claude, the Claude Chrome extension, it can use and like take control of my screen. But a lot of times I just want something done and I don't want it to mess up with my screen or what's happening on my computer. I just want it to go happen in the back end. So that looks like what OpenAI is building here. But this is now leaving room for the browser company and for Perplexity, that both have their own AI native browsers, to potentially take more control of the industry. Meta has just released MuseSpark 1.1. This is a coding model, and it's designed to build features and manage workflows inside of enterprise software without any human intervention. At 1.25 per million input tokens, it's basically priced directly to compete with Claude Haiku 4.5 and GPT 5.6 Luna. So these are kind of the dominant cheap coding models. So it's not, the best. It's basically trying to compete with the cheap coding models. The thing that I love about this is that Mark Zuckerberg has broken his 3-year silence on X to promote this. This is his first post since July 2023, back when I think Threads dropped. And when Threads dropped, it was kind of funny because he was making a post about Threads and it was cloning X. Specifically what he said about this, he said, "Today we're releasing MuseSpark 1.1, a strong agentic and coding model at a very low price. It's available through our new Meta Model API and Meta API. MuseSpark 1.1 is the strongest at agentic performance, tool use, and computer use. It does well on long-running tasks with a 1 million token context window and can delegate execution to sub-agents running in parallel, and is trained to use computer interfaces on desktop, mobile, and browser. The Meta Model API allows developers to build using MuseSpark. For the first time, our focus is on delivering strong agentic and multimodal models at a very low cost. More to come soon." Honestly, I'm pretty stoked that we're getting Mark Zuckerberg tweeting again, but also I think this is a good model. I'm excited to see what they do with this. And a lot of people have been pointing out that just from internet traffic, Meta is scraping like crazy. They're obviously building some big things. We don't know exactly what, but I'm excited to have another competitor in the ring. A company called Sunrun is paying customers to host AI compute hardware in their homes, aka little mini data centers at your house. They're trying to basically spread the AI workload across 1.1 million residential solar and battery systems instead of building massive data centers. There's a couple interesting things right now. One of them, I think it basically gets them around a huge problem, which is that 70% of Americans oppose new data center construction. They're worried about like pollution and noise and power drain. There's also a ton of like political campaigns going up. Some people have accused China of funding a lot of these different campaigns. Kevin O'Leary said that's the case in many instances. So being able to just, not have to worry about getting one of these things approved, because I saw a stat that it was like 40 to 60% of all data center projects don't get approved on the local level because of, people pushing back or whatever. So if you could just go directly to consumers, and if everyone had a little mini data center on their side of their house, I've seen people, float like, hey, you get free electricity and other different benefits to it. So if that was the case, I guarantee tons of Americans would sign up for free electricity to host a data center on the side of their house. And then you wouldn't have any of this kind of regulatory burden as well. Sunrun has completed a proof of concept pilot, and they're planning to resell the compute capacity to AI companies like Anthropic and OpenAI within the coming months. Home-based nodes, like these little mini quote-unquote data centers, would essentially run partly on rooftop solar and also batteries. And then they're going to basically reduce grid draw compared to a single warehouse scale facility, which is drawing hundreds of megawatts. And I think this is kind of the concept that a lot of people have talked about with building these data centers. Trump has talked about it a lot, saying, hey, look, if you're building the data centers, you should go and build like your own energy generation plant next to it, basically telling people they should build their own gas, electric, solar, wind, whatever you want. Like energy generation should be built into these so that it's not pulling off of the grid. And if you do this the way that they're doing this now, they're going to bring their own batteries, solar, and it would just basically increase what is on the grid and not take from it. A lot of the top AI labs are trying to get these data center deals. It's basically a land grab right now. And Anthropic just signed a 20-year Kentucky facility lease, but the permits are a huge bottleneck and it hasn't actually solidified yet. SkyHenix, I've been talking about them a ton on the podcast lately. Have just raised $26.5 billion. This is the largest ever foreign IPO that's happened in the United States. I've been talking about this as it's been coming up, but the thing that's interesting is that they actually beat Alibaba's 2014 record, and Wall Street is bidding really aggressively for exposure to this one particular chip maker because they make high bandwidth memory, which basically powers NVIDIA's AI accelerators and AMD's as well. And what's interesting is there's only 3 players that make this particular high bandwidth memory. Samsung is one of them, SkyHenix is another, and there's one called Micron. I believe they're based in Idaho, but there's only 3 of these companies in the world. Their stock prices have absolutely been soaring. The companies are raising and making tons of money. It's absolutely eye-watering. And so right now they've decided that they're going to go public and capitalize on this. They sold 1.779, so 177 basically, or 178 million shares at $149 each. It was priced 2.7% above their their South Korean average, and there is demand for more than 7 times the available supply. The stock opened 14% above the IPO price. Friday, the ticker is SKHYV. It then started doing regular trading on Monday and under SKHY. U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said that he's already negotiating with SkyHenix and Samsung to both build new chip factories in the United States. We already have one in Idaho, but they're one company that's based in Idaho, but we want to bring everyone else in as well. I think basically this just shows that in the United States, there's a ton of appetite for AI infrastructure, even if it's not in the US, even if it's not based in the United States. Essentially by investing in this IPO, you're investing in hardware companies based in Korea, which isn't a bad thing. Washington right now wants to rebuild a lot of the domestic memory manufacturing, which all of it has kind of been abandoned in the last 10 or 20 years. Micron fired back with a $250 billion US investment pledge. A big part of this, I think, is federal subsidies and talent. Fiji Simone is stepping down as OpenAI's number 2 executive, and she is moving to part-time advisor after a 3-month medical leave. So she had consolidated products and a lot of business operations under her since May of last year, but she had a really severe relapse of a chronic illness, and that led her to prioritize recovery ahead of OpenAI's IPO that's happening next year. She was diagnosed with POTS, and Greg Brockman, I think, is going to take over a lot of her responsibilities. The reason I wanted to bring this up, because I know this is sort of just like a random thing to throw on the end of a podcast. I mean, it is the number 2 person at OpenAI, but my point being, life is short. All of this in AI, everything happening in the markets, all of this, technology, it's super exciting and interesting. But at the end of the day, nothing is more important than taking care of yourself, your family, your health. There are much bigger things than AI and technology, even though this is what we talk about every day. I think she obviously realized that life is short. I'm really, praying for a speedy recovery for her and for anyone that is suffering from illness. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to go check out the real AIbox.ai, not the fake one that is based in China. And also make sure to leave a review. If you haven't left a review already on the podcast, it helps the show out so much. I am eternally grateful, and I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day.